Hello, everybody. This is Robert at Prophecy Spotlight. This is going to be our eighth video on the fig tree and the trees. We have now started what we call the trees, the major trees. That is to be mighty powers that will affect Jerusalem. So there are four of those. We can locate them by what we call cardinal points. If you remember, the last time we saw was that Jerusalem is the center, and from Jerusalem we can look north, we can look south, east, and west. This is how we get our major players in prophecy. Okay, so now I'm gonna take my pointer. Here it goes. Okay, so the cardinal points for the prophetic earth. The last video we did, I think is number 7, we took care of this guy here called the King of the South. We learned that after Nebuchadnezzar took over Egypt, um, the South or Egypt became very, very weak. For a matter of fact, for 2 millenniums, for 2,000 years, Egypt was a very, very low profile. It was not a tree yet. But in our generation, uh, Egypt has turned out to be a major player and a major tree. Okay, so now we're going to move into what we call the King of the North. We're at north. When we say north, we look from Jerusalem, we look north. It is Turkey. Okay, it could also be Syria. Okay, combination of two, I do not know. But when we look north, we see Turkey right away. So in this year, 2020, let us survey the cardinal points. Let's go north. In scripture, looking north from Jerusalem, we get Turkey and Syria. The Ottoman Empire, which was called also the Turks Empire, the Turks, for a long period controlled Jerusalem. Our generation has now, and the Turks, they just almost vanished, In the late 1800, they vanished, And by early 1900, they were nothing. They were absolutely nothing. But then our generation has seen the building up of Turkey and Syria. So things have changed mightily. So now we are in a phase or a period that we can see the rising up of what we will call the King of the North, a most important player in prophecy. Here we have the president of Turkey, Recep Erdogan. He has mighty ambitions. He wants to be the head of the new Ottoman Empire. He is aspiring to the Ottoman days. So Daniel 10, verse 40, we read, "And the king of the north shall come against him." Him is the king in Israel, the Antichrist there. So the king of the north will come against Israel like a whirlwind, with chariots and with horsemen and with many ships. And he shall enter into the countries and overflow and pass through. So this is what the king of the north will do. Him, of course, against him, it's a false king in Jerusalem. It's Daniel 11. Verse 36 to 39, we find here the Antichrist or the false king or the false prophet. It is described in those 3 verses. Daniel 11, 36 to 39, you can read all you want about it. As of old, an individual of these northern countries will become the king of the north to enter into the land of Israel and overflow it. So this happened in the Old Testament. out of these northern countries came what we call the king of the north. We call him, or scripture calls him, the king of the north. Now, who is, we cannot tell. But whoever controls those northern regions, north of Jerusalem, will be the king of the north. So I'm not telling you who he is. I do not know who he is. But until this area becomes united, as it were, under one leader, this leader will become the king of the north. In World War I, in 1914, the Ottoman Empire declines. See, the Ottoman Empire was very, very large, you know. It was very large. Even went into Egypt a little bit, you know. But it controlled Jerusalem for years and years and generations. So that's the Ottoman Empire. But now Turkey or Syria, they want to do the same. They want to encompass all these lands and become a leader, become the king of the north. So Jerusalem is right there. Okay. Let's see now if we can get some help from scripture to recognize this king. Daniel 8, verse 23 to 24, we read, "And at the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors shall have become to the full, a king of bold countenance, and understanding riddles shall come up. And his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. And he shall destroy marvelously, and shall prosper, and shall practice. And he shall destroy the mighty ones of the people of the saints." So these verses are picked up from Daniel 8, 23 to 24. All of Daniel 8 speaks about this coming king of the north. Daniel chapter 7 speaks about the West, the revised Roman Empire. And the horn in chapter 7 is the leader of the Roman Empire, the future Roman prince to come. That's Daniel 9:26. Okay. When we get to chapter 8, we get another horn and we get another king. There are two different horns. One is the king or the leader from the west, and the other one is the king and the leader from the east. Neither of these horns are the Antichrist. Chapter 7, the horn is the leader of the revived Roman Empire. Chapter 9, the king or the horn found in chapter 8, the king found in chapter 8 is the king of bold countenance. It's the king of the north. Okay. So it's the northeastern king. One is a western king, okay, of the revised Roman Empire. The other one is the east, the northeastern king. There are two different kings, and none of them are the Antichrist, although people are very easy. They find it very easy to plug the Antichrist everywhere. Well, if you want to study prophecy, you just don't plug anything anywhere. You need to understand chapter 7, the Roman Empire, chapter 8, the Northern Empire. Okay, the northeastern king. Okay, now it is said that his power shall be mighty. Yeah, he will be mightiful, but not by his own power. Okay, so here we find something important. The king of the north is going to be mighty, he's going to be strong, he's going to be powerful, but it is not as it were his own mighty power. It is the power of another behind him that is there sustaining him, whether military or financially. There is someone else supporting him. Now, if you look today in the East, you find that Russia is helping Turkey, Russia is helping Syria, Russia is helping all these Asiatic countries. So we can easily understand that in the future it is going to be Russia that will be behind the King of the North. The King of the North will only be like a puppet. Okay, he will be like a puppet because he is not a power by himself. Okay. Now we have the King of the North and we have the King of the South. Now these two kings will clash in Daniel 11. We find them clashing. Now at the latter time of their kingdom, so the period we are zooming in is in the future. It will occur at the latter time of their kingdom. All of Daniel is centered on the establishment of the Grecian Empire. From the defeat of Persia, seen as a ram, we'll see that, we proceed to the establishment in power of a he-goat coming from the west. From the west, that is to say, Macedonia or Greece. Okay, so Daniel does not really bring us into the Roman Empire. We only find the Roman Empire entrance there, as it was, in some places in chapter 11. But when we get to the Gospel of Luke, we find that it is Rome that is now in control. Okay, but what I'm saying is that we're talking here about the latter day of the kingdoms, that is to say, the Grecian kingdom. At the death of Alexander the Great, that was the notable horn, died, and four notable one arose. Alexander's four generals partitioned the empire in four. One will become the king of the south, and the other will become the king of the north. There was four of them, but the most important one is the northern one and the southern one. Okay, so when Alexander died in his early 30s, his four generals split the kingdom in four. Now the king of the north, the king of both continents, fills in what is called the latter day of their kingdom. Okay, so at the latter day of this Grecian kingdom, there is a king that came forth, is called the king of the north. Now this king, as we saw, will again be reproduced in the latter days. So here we have Greek, or the Greece attacks the Persian Empire. Okay, that's Channel 8. So we have the he-goat, which is Alexander the Great, with a horn, a notable horn. Right? So he crosses the Mediterranean and goes to Asia. And at that time, it's the Persian Empire that is there, the ram, represented by the ram, the two horns. Well, here there's one horn because it's Alexander the Great, the notable horn. But here we have two horns of the ram, which was Persia on one side and Media on the other. These were the two countries that united together at one time, and they destroyed Babylon. Okay, and now what we're getting is now it's the turn of Persia to be destroyed by the Greeks. This is history. This we can find in our history books. This has happened. But Daniel foretold everything. Now, Daniel 8, verse 9 to 27 is all about the little horn. So Daniel 8 introduces us to this northern king, the little horn, which became exceeding great. Daniel enters in what is called the end of the indignation. Right? The end of the indignation is the same thing as the consumption decreed. Okay, the period of 75 days in Scripture that we find at the end of chapter 12 of Daniel, the last few verses there. And he said, behold, I will make thee know what shall be at the end of the indignation, for at the set time the end shall be. Daniel 8, verse 19. He brings us to that that indignation period, those 75 days. And this is to happen. Daniel 8, verse 23, at the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors shall have come to the full. Now, the transgressors mean when the Jewish apostasy is at the worst level. The transgressors are the Jews there, okay? The many that we call the Jews. At the end, the Jews there will be what we call a Jewish apostasy. And at this time, the king of the north will come in, and his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. He shall destroy marvelously, and shall prosper, and shall practice, and shall destroy the mighty ones and the people of the saints. So the king of the north, all these presently, these Arabs, countries, and Muslim, they are against Israel. They are upheld by Russia. Now, at the end, at the time of the indignation, they will destroy, they will attack the mighty ones, which are the Jews, the godly Jews, and the people of the saints. So the king of the north wants to get rid of Israel, as it were. We thus learn that the latter-day destroyer of the people of the saints will find his military strength and military arms in a stronger country than his, not by his own power. So the king of the north is mighty, but not by his own power. Now, our generation is seeing from the uttermost north the Russian ally or supporter of Turkey and Syria and other northeastern countries. This is what we're seeing. Almost daily on the newspaper, we find that Russia is helping Turkey, is helping Syria, is providing arms, is providing this and that. So the area that is helping, okay, the future king of the north, it's called the uttermost north. So we have the king of the north, which is Turkey and Syria. But we have, Mr. Darby calls that the uttermost north. So there is the north, but there is a farther north, okay? And this is where Russia is located. Okay, we get that uttermost north in, if you have a Darby translation, Ezekiel 38, verse 6, verse 15, and Ezekiel 39, verse 2, you find that expression, the uttermost north. So we know it is Russia. So there we go for the uttermost north, okay? So Turkey is north here. Turkey is north of Israel, okay? Now this is all what we call the uttermost north, which is Russia today. So Russia is the power behind the future king of the north. Now there's other names for this king of the north. He has other names. In Daniel 8:23, he's called the king of bold countenance. In Daniel 8, verse 9, he's called there a little horn. Out of one of them came forth a little horn. Now, out of them speaks about the four generals that took over Alexander's kingdom. Now, out of them came forth a little horn. Out of these four generals that separated the area that Alexander the Great had, now out of them came one out of them. So one of them will become what we call the king of the north. He is also called in Isaiah 28:18 the overflowing scourge. A scourge coming in, overflowing. It's like a river when it overflows its bank. This is how the king of the north is known, as the overflowing scourge. Now in Micah 5, verse 5, we read, when the Assyrian shall come into the land. So he is also called the Assyrian. Okay, when the Assyrian shall come in our land. Okay, so of old the Assyrian came to Jerusalem, but he never conquered Jerusalem. He stopped short. And during the night, if you look in 2 Kings, I think 18, during the night, 185,000 Assyrian soldiers died. And they they came to the neck of Jerusalem, but they never took the head. Never took the head. But when we get to Micah, when we get to the prophetic Assyrian, the historical Assyrian came to the neck. The prophetic one, the one to come, will take over the land. He will take over the city of Jerusalem, and the woman will be ravished, and the city will be taken. Okay, and this he is called the Assyrian there also. So we have the Assyrian of history or antiquity, which were the different kings of Assyria. They were known as the Assyrian. In prophecy, there is to come the prophetic Assyrian. Sorry. So in history, there was the Assyrian, and then in prophecy, there is one coming, which is called the prophetic Assyrian. Now, he will be the king, he will be the future king of the north, and he will attack Jerusalem, and like I said, he will take over the city of Jerusalem. I call him the geographical Assyrian, okay, because the real Assyrian is the one that is at the uttermost north, which is Russia. Art thou not, eh? And the prophet says, art thou not the Assyrian of which the prophets of old spoke? So actually the Old Testament prophets, when they were speaking about the Assyrian, they had in mind not so much the king of the north, but they had much more in mind what was to be the prophetic Assyrian, which is Russia. And we read in chapter 38 of Ezekiel how he is destroyed. Okay, so this concludes, as it were, our presentation on the King of the North. He is a powerful tree, a mighty tree, and he is very, very important in Scripture. There, just to make a summary, there was the Assyrian of old. He went to the neck. The future Assyrian, the king of the north, will not only encompass Jerusalem, but he will go in and take the head. Jerusalem is going to be taken over. We read that in the prophet Zechariah, chapter 12, chapter 14, verse. Let's see now. I want to get that straight. Daniel, okay, Zechariah 14, verse 2. And the city will be taken, and so forth. Half the city will go in captivity, and so forth. So this is going to happen. Okay, eventually, Jerusalem, the head will be taken. Okay, but remember that the power behind the king of the north is the uttermost north, which is Russia, and we'll come to this to his destruction later on. For now, I just want to leave you and say that have a good day, and may the Lord keep you. And I say the Lord is coming. Maranatha. Hey, the Lord keep you. Thank you.